Hi everybody, thanks very much for joining me today. I appreciate it a lot. So I'm back in the woods, finally camping again, and it feels really good, let me tell you. Been here for about a week, really having a good time. So what better time than now to show you my new knife, the Skookum Bushtool from Rod Garcia, inspired by Morse Kohansky. Now I've had this knife for a couple months now, maybe 6 weeks, but I was on the waiting list for over 6 years to get this knife. That's right, 6 years, and it's a pretty standard wait time lately. So what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about the knife, maybe a bit about the history, what the knife was designed for, do a little bit of work with it, and let you know if I feel like the 6-year wait time was worth it. Let's do it. First, a brief history on the Skookum Bushtool. Now this is the history as I understand it. I'll try to be as accurate as possible. Now Rod Garcia, he was a part-time knife maker in Montana. He was also a student of Morse Kohansky. He'd come up to Canada to train with Morse at his Bushcraft and Survival School. Now Morse had some very distinct ideas on what a proper bushcraft knife should be. Rod designed this knife around those parameters. One thing that Morse really liked was neck carry, so Rod designed the sheath to be neck carried. So Rod brought one of these knives up, showed Morse. Morse really liked it. They discussed back and forth about how it could be tweaked a little bit. They tweaked it, came upon a final design. Now a popular knife magazine got hold of one of these, did a very favorable review. The rest has been history. Now these knives are very difficult to get, as I said, and I feel very privileged to be able to get one finally after 6 years. So let's take a closer look now. We'll do a little bit of work with it. Skookum Bushtool. First, the sheath. It's a really traditional looking sheath actually. Dipped in beeswax to protect the sheath. It also protects the knife. You either love or hate the sheath, I guess. I really like it. I like a neck carry. It holds the blade really securely, so I like the sheath. Onto the knife. Now, Morse said a blade should be about the width of your palm, which this is. Very distinctive belly on this knife with a Scandi grind. The knife is full tang. Micarta handles, slightly contoured. Feels really good to me. First time I picked it up, I knew why I had waited this long. On the back of the knife, there's a butt plate on the pommel. There's the Skookum Bushtool logo. This is a Mark I in CPM 3V. CPM 3V is my favorite steel. Love the knife, love how it looks. How does it work? So what sort of testing are we going to do? Well, the thing that we do most with our knives is create fire. So let's process down some wood. We'll start a fire. We'll also do a little bit of carving. Now, this is not a big chopper. It's a very tough, very capable knife, but it's not a huge chopper. So I have a few pieces of cedar, a few pieces of birch here that we can start with. We'll break them down into different thicknesses. Make some tinder in the form of feather sticks. That's a good little test for a knife. It's only about a 4-inch blade, so you're really not going to do huge pieces of wood. Here's a piece of cedar. Did okay with the cedar. Batons, just nice for a knife of its size. I actually don't baton very often. Try to avoid it if I can. A knife like this really is best with a trio. So summertime, this is my favorite hatchet of all times. It's a vintage Haltsbrook. It's a 1.25 pound head. So this knife with the hatchet, a nice buck saw, you got a really good combination. When you're making any sort of fire, just remember, lots of little stuff. That's the best way to get your fire going. Many times I will cheat, take a little shortcut, and when you do, you usually end up paying the price. Down here we have some stage 2, and we also have some fuel. So let's make some feathers. So let's make a few feather sticks. You need to make feather sticks every time you build a fire? Not really. But sometimes you need to. Sometimes you need to create your own tinder. And if you can make a feather stick with fine curls, you're well on your way. Sometimes the piece of wood you've chosen cooperates, sometimes it doesn't, but you work with what you have. So it's good to make curls of different sizes. Some will act more like tinder, some will act more like kindling, like a secondary fuel. It's not too bad. You want kind of compact curls, but to be quite honest, this isn't my best example of a feather stick, but it will light. So I need about 3 or 4 of these, along with the other wood prep we did. We'll be ready to go. Okay, there's our tinder sorted. We have 4 or 5 feather sticks, various thicknesses. They will all light. That Scandi really digs in, so a bit of control is needed. But, you know, the results kind of speak for themselves. Nice grind on this Skookum. So as I said, I'm going to do a little carving project. I love coffee. Let's make a little pot hook. Pretty basic, but pretty much something we do every time we come out to the woods. Wow, that just hogs through big chunks. Bit of a point. We're going to drive this into the ground, so we want to chamfer the top. There we go. This we're going to drive into the ground right in front of the fire pit. Next, let's make the pot hook itself. That requires a few bird's beak notches along this edge. Let's do that now. First, I want to put a little X in the face. Do maybe 3. So to create the bird's beak notch, you just carve underneath that X, being careful not to damage this portion at the top. It's a very basic notch, but one we end up using quite a bit. It's a little bit difficult doing it for the camera, but I'll do my best. You just take your time, create that nice deep bird's beak, and we'll just do that a couple more times. So now we take a long piece of this rig, insert it in the upright that we created at the front, and we just have one more notch to create. Up here we're going to create a chisel bevel at the end. Look at this thing work the wood. Morse said he wanted a pry bar that could work wood well. I would say this meets that criteria. A little more. I like to just round it off slightly. Make it look pretty. Maybe undercut just a bit. Make sure that bird's beak seats in there nicely. Now we want a little dimple on the end. Give it a little test ride. Perfect. You get the weight of the pot on there, it's going to be just right. So I'm not really going to put a heavy pot on the other end of this crane, but it's really a good idea to anchor it in. Just get another Y stick. Put a little point on one end. Again, chamfer the top because we're going to pound this into the ground. Anytime you're pounding wood, particularly green wood, into the ground, it's always a good idea to put a bevel all the way around. Prevents it from splitting very badly. That's well anchored. Okay, let's get the fire going here. Here's a nice curly feather stick. Moores was a big advocate of the fire steel. We're going to use the fire steel. It's quite windy, it might take a bit. There we go. Get all our feathers on there. On top of that, we can get our stage 2. Give it a few seconds, it'll catch. There it goes. Can add more now. Those feathers went up faster than I thought they would. No harm, no foul. We're gonna get a fire going. No fakery here, this is all real time. There we go. I love that crackle. We'll let all our stage 2 get established, then I'll add the fuel. The wind's coming this way, so I'm laying some of the stage 2 in direction with the wind to get the airflow inside. Some of it is just cross hatch. Fire loves chaos. No matter what, it loves chaos. You can throw random twigs down. As long as there's air in between, it will catch. I like to wait until the flames are above each stage of my fire prep. Once that happens, I'll put the next stage on. That way you're fairly sure you're not going to smother it. Taking advantage of that wind, it can be your friend, it can be your enemy. There we go, that fire's well on its way. So let's not waste this fire. We'll get the coffee on. Making coffee Moore's style. Cowboy coffee. Grounds go right in the water. Boil it straight on the fire. Burtonsville rig. It's in Moore's book, Bushcraft. Okay, coffee is done. Moore's Kahansky style. I have a full video on this if you're interested. I'll post it somewhere. Woo! That is a strong brew. So what do I think of the Skookum Bushtool? Was it worth 6+ years of waiting? That's over 2,200 days, believe it or not. Yeah, it was worth it. As soon as I picked it up, I knew this was the knife I'd been chasing. Feels awesome in my hand. I love the design, I love the grind. It works wood very well. CPM 3V is my favorite steel. This is CPM 3V. So I really like that. I love the heritage behind it. I'm a big Morris Kohansky fan. I'm glad that he had a part in designing this knife. Rod Garcia did a great job as well. So if you get a chance to buy one, order one from Rod Garcia. That'd be great. You'll love it. If you can afford one on the secondary market, go for it. You won't be disappointed. Next week I'll be having another knife review from a UK knife maker. Some of you know who he is. Wait to see that one. You're going to like that one too. Can't wait to show you that knife. In the meantime, guys, please subscribe, like, share if you haven't already. Take care. See you on the next one.